In Britain, if someone like this was running in the Labour Party, they'd be kicked out. Right now, in this current Labour Party, frankly, they'd probably be kicked out.
Would there be a demand for it, do you think? Do you think, I mean, put the sort of the institutional barriers aside, if somebody like Mamdani were to run here, do you think he'd be as successful in Britain as he has been in New York? Do we want that sort of firebrand kind of type of politics over here, Ashok?
I think there is. I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's very hard to know about personalities. I think a lot of British people are a bit allergic to that kind of personalities, but we don't know because it's not tested. I don't know any politician, at least for the last 30, 40 years, that have been like that, right?
Well, what about, would you sort of, people today comparing him to Jeremy Corbyn to an extent? Some people have compared him to Zack Polanski.
Yeah, Jeremy Corbyn, look, if you look at 2017, despite the attacks, it was the largest rise in any party since 1947 in terms of the number of votes number of seats they had and the number of votes they got. That's pretty indicative of there was definitely a demand for it in the public. And then also you...
But hold on, sorry, just on... I mean, the public was offered this sort of politics twice, 2017, 2019, under Jeremy Corbyn. And both times the public rejected it in favour of first Theresa May and then in favour of Boris Johnson. So there wasn't enough public demand for it.
Yes, look, I would say, that's why I say in 2017, there was clearly a lot of demand, and even a lot of centrists and even the Tories would admit that it was a shock win, that you had someone who no one expected to win any seats to have the largest vote share increase since 1947.
And still lost.
Win. And yes, still lost. But what that indicates, I mean, that's why we're having this discussion, because we haven't had a leader like that, right? So it's like, is there an appetite for that? Of course they lost, or else we wouldn't be having this debate. The question is there an appetite? Clearly that indicates that there was some appetite. Now, if we look at, 2019, I think was more of a referendum on that people's vote, reversing the vote of the Brexit vote, which was disastrous. 52 of the 54 seats that were lost were Brexit voting seats. And so I think, of course, it wasn't necessarily a referendum on the specific policies, which still poll after poll, like nationalizing rail and nationalizing water, remain at 80+% of the public, right? So if you look at Zack Polanski, you brought up Zack Polanski, in a very short period of time, he's doubled the number of more than doubled the number of members in the Green Party. They've surpassed the Tories, and in a recent poll they were double, only to Reform beating out Labour by 2 points. That indicates that there is a public appetite. Now, is Zack Polanski's personality anything like Zohran Mamdani? I wouldn't think so, but I don't think that's necessary. What people want to see is someone who's clearly principled, who can hold their point and doesn't dilly-dally, doesn't fancy, isn't lukewarm, isn't like flip-flopping like Starmer does relentlessly. And that's what they want to see. That and you kind of really do see that in someone like Zack Polanski. I think I think if you're looking some cookie cutter mirror of Zohran Mamdani, you're not going to find that really here. Maybe you will, but I haven't seen the case of that. But if you want to see someone who clearly is demonstrably showing that they stand by their positions in their politics, then you could even say to some extent, and I'm someone like Nigel Farage, who obviously now is flip-flopping a little bit more, clearly has politics, has a position, and defends that position. Now, there's lots of people that might not agree with Nigel Farage's politics,
but they still seem as
appreciate that he's standing. He's not your normal politician. Now you go to the Tories and the Labour Party, it's just people that have been shaped and circumscribed through the bureaucracy of the Labour Party and often don't stand for anything and are dilly-dallying and vague in all their promises.
And that's what people hate, isn't it? And that's why people like a lot of people, I think, feel quite inspired by the prospect of Zohran Mamdani succeeding in the way he has. Thank you, Ashok. Ashok Kumar.